Identity. Now, one we're going to do is identify Fat Elvis, which is peanut butter and jelly in a whiskey bottle. I sat down with a buddy of mine, and we had a good conversation today. And then I sat down with another buddy of mine. And Stan's going to be here shortly, and he'll tell you, damn, I didn't know that you guys had those kind of conversations. Let me give respect to people. Not knowing who you are is one of the most dangerous things on earth. I've said this many times. I was raised by men. And Tim says, it's funny because nowadays most men don't know what that means. And my response to anybody else, not Tim, I didn't say this to Tim to be clear, is, well, I wasn't raised by pussies. And he said, well, most men are nowadays raised by a bunch of words I won't repeat. And we spoke about basically, and I'm gonna get to the point here in a second, me being technically employee number one. Now, I've outlived the start and the finish, and he said, I don't even know if I've ever told you this. But at the time when I started with them, he told his wife, I feel pretty good about this guy. This could go really good, or it could go really bad. But I'm willing to make the investment because I feel good about this guy. And I was telling the story of how I became a part of the blendery to another guy today at lunch. And the key word Tim used was, you were fun. You were fun. And I thought to myself, man, it was that simple. It's that simple when you know who you are. I repeat, I was raised by men. I will die being a man. If you're a father, and I'm not a father, but let me be very clear to you fathers, because I've raised some boys. Make sure your boys know that they're men. Right now, we're in an identity crisis. And in that identity crisis, men are afraid to be men. And too much man is I think the thing everybody says, narcissistic or toxic. Fuck out of my face. Let me be very clear. I was raised by men. I'm going to die being a man. And if I didn't have that identity, then I don't think we would be sitting here today. And the more men I get around, the more clear I get about the man I'm supposed to be. And also how hard it is to be the man that I've never seen. Because I was raised by men, but not the men that I would want to emulate, imitate, or embrace in a way that betters the world. Because they didn't better the world. It's the truth. They didn't. They bettered some people, but not the world. And the only thing I'm afraid of is what I'm capable of. That's because the men I was raised with, they taught me to be the best that I can be, to do my best, to be clear. And when Tim asked, he says, well, how do you define being a man? I said, my papa. He said, the most important thing between two men is clarity. I've been clear about every room that I walk into. I'm clear about who I'm supposed to be. I'm clear about what I'm going to do. I'm clear and consistent about showing up, doing that which I believe. And what's funny is I should have recorded, like, this whole conversation should have been recorded. And I even asked Tim, I said, Tim, hey, we're doing whiskey therapy. What would you want to see from whiskey therapy? And he goes, I thought about it a little bit, like, that's a good question. I said, how many men do you know are suffering? He said, a lot. A lot of men are struggling. They don't have a safe place to speak or be themselves or communicate and define what it means to be that which makes people uncomfortable. And one of the things we got to was, you tell me when you think something's not right, and I tell you when something's not, I'm not doing such and such. And somehow we always meet, not even in the middle, because I'm a little bit more pushy with social media. I cannot push him when it comes to whiskey, but he's willing to take or allow me to lead in said department, right? And that's because he's like, that's a man I trust. And here's the worst question that I've asked the majority of men I've come in contact with, and I revisited today with him as we were kind of just having a conversation. You go, Tim, can you tell me a little bit about what it means to have a best friend? Like, what is a best friend? As a man, what does that look like? And he goes, so remember when I asked you that question, he said, that was a harder question to answer because who can you call and not be judged by? Him and I get along because there's a judgment-free zone. And when I tell you I share everything with Tim. There's nothing I would hold back or not share. And Stan walked into that conversation. I said, yeah, go ahead and shut the door. Shut the door. You can see firsthand, and we just kept talking. I'm going to tell him when he comes in here in a little bit. Yeah, this is the kind of stuff like he and I are discussing, but I walked into the bindery as a man who was clear about who he was and what he was going to do and how he was going to help such and such achieve. And again, he believed like, yo, this guy could be the difference. I've outlived literally employee number one because I did exactly what I said I was going to do. And if I'm being honest, it wasn't much. And Richard at some point chimes in because now we've taken the conversation out of the office. And I said, what's funny, Tim, is I didn't sell you anything. I don't know about whiskey. So what am I actually selling you? Richard goes, sometimes the best sell is no sell. I said, I walked in here and said, I could help you figure out how to market and leverage social media. Be very clear, people. I know a lot about whiskey now. But when I walked into the bindery, I didn't sell the man anything. Think about that. How clear do you have to be about what you're capable of to know nothing about something you're walking into? To help, I don't want to say change, but improve a man's business and his life through your digital footprint. I had no clue. And we're going to talk about that because the more and more people I help, the more clear it's becoming that I have to be something that not even I understand. And part of it's scary, part of it's refreshing, part of it's a blessing, part of it feels like a curse. What I will tell you is we had some great conversations today, and the subject was identity. So what you identify as, who you identify with, and what your identity is, literally is the difference between where you're going. And let me simplify it. People are like, hey, I'm an influencer. When you go on social media, you get to choose what category you fall in, right? Speed and Kai, I'm a streamer or I'm a YouTuber. You need to know where you stand so you can figure out where you want to go, where you want to land. And days like today are reminders that I walked into the blender and I said this to Tim as a kind of an employee, more of a I'll assist, and now I could say that we're friends. And I don't throw that word around lightly. Matter of fact, I literally told Tim, the bigger this world I'm building gets, the more I want to run from it. But men don't get to run. There's nowhere to go. Only more growth to take place. So if you're a father, make sure your boy knows he's a boy, and even more importantly, that he's a man, and teach him how to be a man and what it means to be a man. And when people are uncomfortable with him choosing to be a man, tell them to go fuck themselves or follow on something sharp. If you have a daughter, teach her compassion, empathy, and to love herself. Teach her son the same thing. Make sure she knows she's a woman and the power that comes from being a woman and how she can impact the room through her choices. This isn't a one-sided thing. I've done just as many great things with amazing businesswomen as I've had with amazing businessmen. But for one thing is clear. The world I was raised in is not the world we're living in. But what I would tell you, I was raised with men. I align with men. I work better because of men. I work well with men. I work well with people who know who they are, and get this, who know who they're not. There are certain things you're not going to get me to do, and everybody knows it. There's certain things I don't care about. Everybody knows it. Very few people think, well, I would imagine nobody thinks I'm going to give up. That's not going to happen. But everyone knows I can better every room I walk into that knows me, to be clear. and I will continue to do so. If you're a man, let me say this. Simply be a man.